Hey team, welcome to another Too Many Projects, and today I've got a little bit of probably a long-term DIY project that's got a bit wrong to show you. You'll have seen, well you probably won't actually, it's been a very unpopular video of me fixing a garage door a little while ago. We've got this roller garage door and it's rubbish. And so I've hatched a plan, it's already gone wrong, to replace that garage door with something a bit better. Come and check it out. So this is what we've hauled back from West London the other night on the top of the car. And I figured older doors, higher quality wood. Didn't know the tongue and groove was this bad until we got there, but I looked at it and I thought, it's easy to replace the tongue and groove, it's not too expensive. So I got it home, second disaster happened. And if you look down here, you can see how easy I thought it was going to be to cut the bottom off. See, I didn't do actual measurements, but I saw how they were constructed at the bottom here, and I thought, you've got a solid 3 inches worst case scenario you can take off the bottom there, and that would be fine. But then when I measured it up, that needs to be the bottom of the garage doors. That's how big the opening is. So the only way to cut the bottom off to do that is to take out this, what do we even call this? A rail, and take out this support rail as well. So that's what we're going to do. First job though, probably I will finish taking the hardware off and then pull the tongue and groove off and see where we are. Sometimes on Facebook Marketplace you win the Facebook Marketplace game. Today not so much. This is not such a high quality door as I thought. This is the only link, there's no tenon and mortise joint here. And then you can just see here now, this is attached with dowels. This is not original to the house it came from, which is 100 years old. I mean, I guess that's not a massive surprise. But I've done the maths, and if I was to buy the timber that they're made from, it would cost more than that. So we'll chalk it up to a win. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is take the rest of that tongue and groove off, and then probably take these 2 panels out so we can have a go at pulling these joints apart as well. Because on the plus side, it might not be very good quality, but it's much easier to replicate. If I want to put this bar further up, which I do, it's not that hard, and then it'll be easy to cut this down to the right angle and make it a bit shorter as well, and use everything we've got here. Get some replacement tongue and groove. Okay, it's in pieces, that's really good. It came apart far too easily because it is not of a very high quality, which is both a shame and also a good thing because I can take it apart. If this was all good quality tenon joints, I would have really struggled to get it apart, but a quick tap with a hammer and they've all come out. I'm going to have to get some new dowels because these ones are glued very securely into the frame. And I've already got the tongue and groove. I popped out earlier to get some replacement tongue and groove on here. So the next job, I guess, is to, I don't know the correct term for all the parts of the door, chop down these vertical bits and then refit this horizontal bit and then refit the tongue and groove and then see if we can't make it look quite nice. Hey, it's been a few days. I managed to get hold of some of this, but I had to get it mail order. This is a 16mm dowel, fluted dowel. These dowels that are in here are either 15mm or they're 30/32 of an inch. I think probably the latter. And so I couldn't find any 15mm dowel, so I've got some 16mm dowel and a 16mm drill bit to sort of slightly open the holes up. And what I'm just going to do now is measure the holes that are on this bar at the bottom and work out exactly where I need to drill holes in this beam. Then I can put it all together dry and cut the diagonal to shape. And it'll be slightly stronger than it was before. To measure how far the centres of these holes are apart, I'm going to hold this up and do this first one, something like that. And then to get the distance between the centres, I'm going to measure edge to edge. So this edge to this edge will be the distance between centre and centre, and then I'll mark that on. And then this edge and this edge, and I'll mark that on as well. From there to the next one is about 50.2mm. And from there to the next one is about 51. So it looks like they're 2 inches apart. Here's the diagonal piece that came off. We always want this to be going from the bottom of the hinge to hold the rest of the door up, so it needs to go that way. So I've just got to trim it at the ends to make it fit. Used to have these metal things banged into it. I'm going to bang those out, and I'm going to put a couple of dowel in at the bottom here and a couple of dowel the same at the top. Just small ones to stop it from twisting. Sorry, I thought that would be boring and would take a second, so I didn't film it, but I actually made a small mistake and I've just had to glue a little piece back on there. While that dries, I can now measure how long our tongue and groove needs to be for the middle and cut a bunch of them to length. From drying out. I've been drying these because they're green, trying to dry them out as much as possible before I screw them down, and now they're all warped. So I think what I'm going to do is stack them all on top of each other, put them on a flat surface and put some heavy weights on top of them and see how that goes. You come just in time. Can you grab that thing?
Yes, dear.
Okay, pulled it all together. Clara came to help at the end there, but my sash clamp isn't quite big enough to go across it, so I'm just going to chuck in a few ratchet straps. All right, lovely. So I'll leave that to dry for 24 hours and then start putting the tongue and groove on. I managed to use the excess end grain sealer and I've just put a coat on all the wood on this side, which will have the tongue and groove on top of it just for a bit of an extra protection from the elements. And the next thing I think I'm going to do is, if you look over on this edge, there's a few bits like this where the old hardware was on, and I'm just going to patch those holes. These holes are a bit easy, but then this one where there was a lock barrel coming through is a little trickier, so I'll probably put a patch, a nice square patch. We'll see how we go. Those are rough, but that's okay, because once I get the tongue and groove in, everything's going to need a really good sand to try and get it reasonably flat again. I didn't bother doing this one because I think in the end it'll be easier once the tongue and groove is in, so I'll do that a bit later. So the next job is exciting. Time to turn it back into a door and get the tongue and groove across the front here. I think I've done my measurements right, and I think if this one goes in first, I've run this one through the table saw and it's now just 38.5 millimetres to there. If my maths is right, time will tell, we should have another piece that's 38.5 at that other end, so they're symmetrical. And as I'm going along, I'm going to be sticking the tongues together with a 2mm spacer, just so that there's a little bit more room for the wood to expand if needed. It's super dry at the moment, so it will expand in winter. Looking at it now, I'm thinking, is 2mm even enough? 2mm is enough. That'll be fine. And I'm going to be fixing the end with a stainless lost head screw, because I don't have a nail gun and I can't bother to bang nails in. And then for the others, put a lost head screw along the top piece of wood, but I'm actually going to stick 2 big screws in here. I mean, they're really small screws, but they're not lost head. 2 normal screws in on each point down here to make sure this is really pulled down tight, because it is a little bit twisted, some of these bits of wood. And then I'm going to put plugs on top of them. I think that'll just be stronger, and since it's going to be a painted door, it shouldn't really be noticeable once it's finished. All right, but let's do that. Let's have a look at this patch then. So I've got a bit of a system I've started using. Don't know if it's right. I'm not a professional. We'll see. I've got this nice square patch. It's a bit of pine that's sort of similar to the door frame here. And it covers up what I want to cover up. I'm going to draw a pencil line on the top and bottom there. Then I've got these rails. These are off the drawer unit I took apart in the last video. I'm just going to hold them each side. Just clamp them down quick. Then I'm going to move the patch. Route a bit with a bearing guide at the top. I'm just going to drop it down onto the wood. The light on and my sunglasses off, I can see using my pencil lines, and I just need to stop it at the top and the bottom to make sure I don't go too far, and then move the clamp up to the edge of the router like that. Get it nice and square, and the clamp will become my stop. So in theory now, when the router goes up and down in there, the bit will just go exactly where I want it to. So I've just got to square off the corners because it's a round tool, so I'll just use the chisel. It fits pretty nicely. I'm going to get it glued in. Sorry, I don't know when the camera slipped there, but it's clamped in. Finally, the right thing to do is to plane it down. I've sometimes used a flush cut saw for it. It's a bit of a hassle. I'm going to do this the hard way because it's a bit more accurate. The next job is to sand the door extensively because it's such a mess. Now I'm just going to add knotting solution. Did some gloss paintwork on a door not so long ago, and after a short period of time the knots actually came through the paint. You could see them discolouring the paint, so I think this is the right thing to do. Never used it before. Let's see. Okay, and I'm going to finish off today with a coat of primer. I'll get another coat on tomorrow. I'm going to try and do 3 coats of primer, and I will try to then give it a light sand to make it nice and flat as well, since it's going to be painted with gloss eventually. And ta-da! Clara snuck out and did the colour on them as well, but there's the second one done to match the first one, or the second one done to match the first one. I can't remember which way around now. So that's the first coat of colour with some bird shit on it here. And before I worry too much about the glazing, I want to show you what I'm planning for the frame. Did actually manage to scavenge the frame when we picked up the doors. You could see how rotten each end of it was, and I don't think we're going to be able to use the uprights, not to mention the quantity of stuff people have screwed to it. I also found this. There were some aluminium windows in the house when we moved in with a timber frame around them, and I caught the people putting new windows in cutting these in half, but this is actually Iroko, which is very exciting. Cleaned it up and it's come out really nicely. It's already spent many decades resisting weather really, really well. But I figure I can use the 3 big long bits I've got for the frame. There's a couple of issues. One, I can't use it this way. I've got to use it with this way pointing out so there's enough width for the hinges to bolt on, which will come out to about there. And the other problem is the top one isn't long enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the top one with a scarf joint. Seen Robin Clevitt on the internet show me how to do a scarf joint with something completely different, and it seems very easy, and how could it possibly go wrong? And then the depth of it would be okay. If you imagine the door is shutting there, it would actually be enough for the door itself, but I want this door to be really well sealed when it's shut, like a proper external door. And so I need it to be about that deep, and then I'm going to put a doorstop on it and some seals on the doorstop. So I've actually got some softwood that I'm going to bolt on behind it once it's in place to make it you know, double thickness. And I'm not going to glue them together, so if they sort of change size in different weathers at a different rate, hopefully that won't cause warping. So let's see if we can work out how to do a scarf joint. How hard could it be? All right, moment of truth. This is not professional quality work, that's for sure. Sort of fits, almost. There'll be some finagling, but I'll get a couple of wedges in there that will push it apart. And then glue it. That should be our extra long beam. So with the frame drying over there, the next thing I want to do is use this 18mm ply. I'm just gonna basically make the door deeper. Two reasons. One, so I can get 50mm of insulation in here, and secondly, I'm going to frame out the window section here so we can put a double glazed unit behind it. And then hopefully we'll have the effect of a modern door that keeps the sound and the heat out. And then I've got these electronic bolts. And so I'm going to put two of them on this door, which is the one that you open first. And then we can have some digital control of how the door opens, and we don't need to have a lock on the outside, which would be good. So to do the glazing, I'm just going to put a foam tape around the edge and then stick the glass panes on. I've done the first one as a bit of a test. And then rather than putty again, because that was awful, I've got some hardwood bead that's going to go in there around the edge. It's a little bit proud, and I think that's fine. I think that's going to look nice. But I'll just put some sealant on it and I'll knock a pin in each one to hold it in place. I just want to show you a quick one that we've pulled the tape off. This is just a first coat of colour going on there. We'll finish them off once they're up because we're going to knock them about a bit as we put them on. And I think that looks much nicer. And I'm just about to attach the hinges. They're not the originals. Let's have a look at those. So this is the old hinge style. Nothing wrong with it, needs a coat of paint. But it's a simple strap with a couple of leads that hold the pin at the end there. It just hinges open and closed. The reason I didn't want to use this again is because someone can maybe tell me how you adjust this, but if there's any movement in the door, there's no easy way to sort of adjust this, which explains to me why there are so many wonky doors in South London when you look around. But I'm putting some of these on instead, and these just have a nut, bolt and ring system there that goes into there, which means I can pull the door up and down, adjust it like that, and I can also stack washers, I thought, maybe if I need to on here to raise or lower the height as well. So there's a lot of adjustment there, which I think would be a lot better. Right, so the beading is sealed in. So I've just marked out, that's the main bolt that holds the hinge, and then these three screws that go onto it additionally, they don't seem to be structural. I would have put some bigger screws in there, but I think it'll be fine. All right, so that's everything all together in one piece. I've just put a couple of coats of paint on these pieces for the frame as well. And I haven't shown you my scarf joint because it was so awful. But now I've put some paint on it, you can barely tell how bad it was. I don't think the camera can, but just here, it wasn't a perfect fit. I did have to use a bit of filler on it. In fact, look at all those drips. I need to go and get paintbrush. But that's ready to go up, and I don't think I've got enough time today to knock out the roller door and put this up. So I'm going to do it anyway. I think that's the plan. Ta-da! So, I managed to reuse this lovely drip off the old windows that were made of Iroko as well, just to keep the majority of the water certainly away from the gap here, but a little bit off the doors as well, hopefully, depending on where the wind blows. And the hinges have come together really nicely. I had to do quite a lot of adjustment to get it as tight as this gap is now. It's not perfect. It's a little bit smaller, the frame at the bottom, than it is at the top. And I managed to find these shims. They're just like washers, but much thinner. But they mean that I've not only been able to lift and drop each door to make this bit level here and this bit level here, so it looks nice, but also it means where I've been a shade inaccurate with the hinge height, it means I can make sure that the weight of the door is evenly on all three hinges, which is much better. And I've also done this. We've got these locks, which are electronic, and I've built this little box here, which I'll go into if you want on another video, let me know, because it's a whole video on its own. But this means that it's integrated with Home Assistant, and I can open it with my phone or with this button. And I'm glossing over the fact that it's clearly been several months since I put them up. I may have lost the camera and some stuff, but I'm going to say I waited to show you until the wet, colder weather had come to make sure nothing went wrong. The gaps in the toe and groove seem to be fine, no issues there. The doors themselves, I've had to do a lot of fettling, and I've hidden from you in the reveal there the fact that I haven't quite finished the colour here, because I just did a little bit of a plane just to make it shut perfectly at the bottom here where it's a bit tighter. But overall, they've been a fantastic help. I can now get the bike out through here, from the front, from the back. I can come home, I can put the bike away. I've got the cargo bike in there, I can bring stuff in and out. So it's just, living without a garage door was a real nightmare, and I am very pleased. Still got to put the insulation and the seals in, which I'm sure will involve even more fettling. You can see around the edge of the door, it's quite a nice fit. So yeah, thank you for watching us do a little, you know, try and improve a little bit the front of our house, which is a little bit worse for wear, and hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next one. I just locked myself out. Phone's inside. Can't open it without a phone. Shit. That's locked. Nah,